As Ankara's main hospital struggled to cope with the casualties, the walking wounded began telling reporters what they'd seen. One witness had been near the bus, which was caught up in the blast. All the seats on the bus were full. There were about 40 to 50 people on it. The bus slowed down, a black car went by us, and seconds later, boom, it exploded, and seats went flying. A red thing appeared. It was fire. Fire broke out. It killed at least 2 or 3 people. The force of the blast sent metal flying. A piece hit me here and here. According to other witnesses, the fire engulfed several cars in the area. With so many of the injured said to be in a critical condition, the number of fatalities is expected to rise.
We now head over to Ankara, where our correspondent Bora Bayraktar has more background information on the attacks in the Turkish capital. He says Turkey and its capital Ankara have witnessed these kinds of deadly terror attacks 3 times in the last 5 months and twice in the last month. For now, Turkey has 2 important security issues and believes that these terror attacks are connected to them. The first one is the operation against the PKK in the southeast of Turkey. In Diyarbakir, Cizre, and in many other cities there are ongoing operations. And there is serious fighting with the PKK. It's repeatedly saying that the PKK is connected to these attacks. Previous attacks have already been connected to the PKK and the YPG. The second issue is Syria. The civil war in Syria is affecting Turkey, which is almost becoming a party in the war. Turkey is fighting a front against the PYD, which is connected to the PKK, ISIL, and Syrian regime forces. That is why security experts here, and also government members, have been saying that Turkey could be the target of terrorist attacks. When the issue comes to the PKK, former ministers, former deputy prime ministers are saying there are major powers behind these attacks. At least some members of the government feel that they are under attack from an international consortium. I guess we will hear those kind of declarations from officials about this Ankara attack.
Gunmen from the North African branch of Al-Qaeda killed 16 people at a popular resort town in Ivory Coast on Sunday. 6 attackers fired on beachgoers in Grand Bassam before being killed themselves in clashes with Ivorian special forces. The country's president, Alassane Ouattara, travelled to the resort on Sunday evening. Speaking to reporters, he confirmed that 14 civilians and 2 soldiers had died in the attack. He also added that all the gunmen had been neutralised. These cowardly terrorist attacks, he said, will not be tolerated in Ivory Coast, and we've taken important measures. These attacks were brought under control in 3 or 4 hours thanks to our security and defence forces, whom I wish to congratulate. 4 Europeans were among those killed, including 1 confirmed Frenchman. It's the latest in a string of deadly assaults across West Africa, the most recent being nearly 2 months ago when Islamist fighters killed dozens of people at a tourist hotel in neighbouring Burkina Faso. Members of the anti-immigration AfD party celebrate after making unprecedented gains in 3 German state elections. Voters appear to have punished Chancellor Angela Merkel's conservative Christian Democrats, rejecting her open-door refugee policy. The AfD party leader said, "It's the catastrophic policies of Chancellor Merkel which clearly open people's eyes. This is the only reason why we succeeded in entering all 3 state parliaments with double-digit percentage figures." The AfD gains, although significant, still didn't mean they won any of the states. In Baden-Württemberg, the Greens for the first time became the strongest party there, with around 30% of the vote. A former stronghold of the CDU, support for the Conservatives reached an historic low of 27%. Still, the CDU did remain the largest party in Saxony-Anhalt. Meanwhile, the Social Democrats, or SPD, were in fact the biggest losers overall, with support falling away across the board, although they did hang on to Rhineland-Palatinate with 36%. But with the CDU suffering defeats in 2 out of 3 of the states, Sunday's elections are being seen as a serious rebuke for Merkel and the most pronounced protest vote seen so far.
As many as 3 million people have rallied in cities across Brazil calling for President Dilma Rousseff's impeachment. The country is amid an investigation into corruption at state oil giant Petrobras that involves the former president as well as key figures from Rousseff's inner circle. She faces impeachment proceedings over alleged fiscal mismanagement and low approval ratings. I feel bad, she says. I believed in them, like all Brazilian people did, and that's what we get. So now we want the corrupts out. We cannot bear the corruption anymore. We support the country's hosting of the Olympic Games and other large events and the development that comes with them, he says, but the problem is the country lacks effective governance and there's too much corruption. Investigators have also been looking into claims that former President Luis Inácio Lula da Silva benefited from illegal kickbacks at Petrobras when he was in power.